We are ready.
Welcome everyone to this Millburn School District regular board meeting, January 23rd, 2023. Can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Vaughn. Mr. Coleman.
Present.
Mr. Bouvier.
Here.
Mr. Lorenzen.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Federini.
Present.
Ms. Roberts. Here.
Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is standing indivisible.
I understand we have some quick comments.
We have Mr. Jess
Yes.
for public comment.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I reviewed the agenda today and I had exchanged some emails with Mr. Jorgensen here over the weekend. And obviously it's on the agenda for today about the items that are being placed into the boys' bathrooms. And so I guess I just have a question or a series of questions. But the first question is, does this mean that girls are allowed in the boys' bathrooms and boys are allowed in the girls' bathrooms?
Thank you.
And I understand that this law is not I mean, you guys didn't create this law. So you have to live by whatever the state is telling you to, but it does ask, prompt me the question of understanding the level of privacy for boys in their bathrooms and girls in their bathrooms, because ultimately the boys' bathrooms and the girls' bathrooms have been around for a century or more for a particular reason, and probably many reasons. So the straightforward question is are girls allowed in the boys' bathrooms and vice versa, boys allowed in the girls'?
All right, thank you. Sorry, maybe I'll explain. I probably should have done this before we started. So public comment, because we are in the open, it's not necessarily a dialogue back and forth. We do our work in the open, so it's transparent and you can see it and know everything's above board, but it's not necessarily a dialogue back and forth when you have a comment. I believe your question will probably be answered in our discussion when we get to that area of the meeting, but we, as a general rule, do not answer questions when they're asked during the comment.
So is there any time, forgive me, I've never been to one of these, so I'm just kind of learning as I go, but is this a question that I could ask later on in the day to get an answer to?
It will probably be answered in our discussion, because I think it'll come up, and we do, we listen to what you're saying and take that into account. I mean, the idea of the public comment is so that we get direct input from you.
Okay.
But at any time you can call, like you've emailed Mr. Jordan, you can also email Mr. Lynn or the board directly.
Okay.
We won't take a side necessarily with you, but we can explain why and what's going on.
So maybe I can use this opportunity to
You can make your opinion known on what you think should happen.
So if girls are allowed in the boys' bathrooms, and if boys are allowed in the girls' bathrooms, particularly girls in the boys' bathrooms, what level of privacy is the school providing, specifically in the area of urinals, where there's less privacy than you would find in a toilet where they can actually close the doors? Is there going to be steps taken to, well, my request or comment would be, hopefully there's some steps that are going to be taken to provide boys that privacy, but then also in this age group, the middle school and as they go into high school, we all know boys go through certain things in life as they grow up and things of that nature. Creating an opportunity for a boy to do something that he would not necessarily do in an environment where a girl is in the bathroom, just elevate the opportunity for wrongdoing or wrong accusations. The same thing, allowing a boy into the girl's bathroom and protecting the girl. I don't have any daughters, but I think that that's a huge concern that I, as well as some people that I'm here with, absolutely have. This is this is not your rules, but I think that a school district needs to live under the rules and maybe provide the extra steps to provide that privacy and the limitation of wrongdoing for these young children.
And
And
there-
if I can, I won't answer the questions. Unfortunately, I mean, it would be, at times it seems beneficial to have dialogue, but that could also become very cumbersome and overtake. But what I would say is, for public comments, clearly state your position. If you have a concern, clearly state your position and what your concern would be. And that helps,
So I-
understand the concerns of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I stated my
Yeah.
concern and my opinion is a boys' bathroom, a girls' bathroom, and then another bathroom for somebody who doesn't see themselves going into a boys' or girls' bathroom. That would be my recommendation or request.
Thank
Thank you.
And the one last thing I forgot is we usually have a time limit of 3 minutes. We're not big on keeping the time limit, but you're good. Thank you. Our next, comment?
Mr. Roman,
Yeah, so I'm gonna continue with what my neighbor started out. I think the fact that, I know we got an email about the tampons being offered in boys' bathrooms. But, you know, I just understand that this is a top-down thing. And I don't understand what the point of this meeting is if we're not gonna have a dialogue here, but I think this is flat down sexualizing our kids. We're talking about boys and girls that are 9, 10 years old. They have no business being introduced into this type of it's basically sexualizing our kids. My question is this, since this is not really a time, you guys are gonna take these notes down and then some email us back. We can't really talk to you one-on-one. What's the next step? Are we gonna get an email about a drag queen coming to the school and reading a story in the library for kids? Okay, we as parents, we live in this community, we chose to live in this community because we care. We don't care, we really care about our kids. Okay, there's nothing more important to us. And I think that our opinions and our kids' future should be taken more into consideration than just getting an email saying that this is a top-down thing, this is something that came down from, the Board of Education. Okay, so there's more in this.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes, along with the same theme, I did have some questions, about it, and I, obviously, it's a state law, is there any way that the school board can, address, or the parents' concern to the state on behalf, or any type of objection to that? But overall, yeah, we were just concerned about that, and the fact that I see things happening all over the country similar to this and beyond, and I was wondering where is it leading, what's next? I do worry about my daughter being in the bathroom with boys, especially as they get older. I have older boys that are big and strong, and I've seen horror stories happen, and I've seen it be covered up, and I just don't wanna, I don't wanna see it happen, I don't wanna exaggerate or anything like that, but that is our concern. That's why we're here for that reason.
Thank you. Thank you.
that's difficult.
And we had one. We had one that was submitted electronically. Okay.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm board VP, so I'll be reading an email that came in. Comments for the Millburn BOE. We have a child who attends Millburn Elementary School. We were recently informed by the principal there that Raptor background checks are required for any visitor who comes into the building during school hours, both at the elementary school and at the middle school. He clarified that the background check is not just for volunteers. The requirement is part of a safety plan, which was approved by the Board of Ed 5 years ago. This was confirmed by the superintendent, Dr. Lind. As parents, we have several concerns with this. Infringement on privacy. First of all, what right does MES have to collect this type of information, especially without having cause? There is no state or federal law requiring it. How are the schools keeping this information secure? Discriminatory. Parents with prior records, even those occurring years ago, might shy away from background checks due to a minor infraction they don't want disclosed. Additionally, undocumented immigrants may opt out for fear that they will be asked to provide a social security number during the background check process. So those parents are barred from attending their child's events at the school. Impractical and expensive. There are over 700 kids at MES alone. That's potentially 1,400 background checks, not even factoring in Millburn Middle School. To require that many people to undergo a check is an undue burden on the system, not to mention taxpayers. Lack of transparency. Where is the policy documented? I could not find any information posted on what specific offenses would prohibit a parent from entering the school to attend their child's event, bring them to appointments to see the school nurse, etc. I could not find any information on what the school's response would be if the parent showed up without going through a background check. Inconsistent. I was in the school twice last year to help with lunches in the cafeteria. I was also there to bring our child to mandatory COVID testing appointments with the school nurse. At no point was I informed that I needed a Raptor check first. And yet we are now being told that we need to undergo a Raptor check in order to attend our child's animal showcase event at the school because it's being held during hours when children are in school. Regards, Karen Joseph. So Raptor is just basically another way to do more thorough background checks for you guys. If you didn't know, I should have spoken about that, but that's Karen's comment.
Are there more comments?
Yes, I apologize. I'm used to Ms. McNeil joining us, so she was joining us for public comment, so I apologize.
I just wanted to say thank you to the Board of Education. You have put up with me for a really long time. This will be my last board meeting as a union president. And of course, you'll be taking over. And I'm leaving you in fine hands, but I just wanted to say, on behalf of the teachers, we appreciate the great working relationship that you have with the Board of Education. And I know that that will only get better. So thank you for all you do. I look forward to hearing about the great things and
Thank you.
You will be missed.
All right. Are there any addition of non-internet?
We can talk about that, the Raptor letter.
Yeah, you can add that in maybe end. Okay. If you don't mind, we wanted to move the bus driver presentation.
No. The differentiation presentation.
The differentiation presentation. Yeah. that's
Did you
what I
guys know you were talking about bus?
Differentiation.
we'll be flexible.
I know.
I got it right here. So we're gonna move that up front, so you guys can go ahead and start anytime you get.
Okay, I'll introduce our guest tonight. It's my privilege and honor to introduce Miss Mary Hershey, a first grade teacher, and Miss Danielle Butts, a fourth grade teacher, fourth grade. For a second, I'm like, wait, no. They presented at a conference this year, earlier this fall, state conference, and I wanted to honor them and introduce them to the board. They're exceptional teachers, one of many at Millburn, but they're doing a great job. And we're presenting actually at the state conference, and I just asked them to come and share briefly what they presented, so the board can have a little taste for what's happening in our classroom. So I will start the presentation, and you guys are on.
You guys do this all day.
That way.
All right, we'll just kind of, we'll stand in.
There you go.
Well, as Sterling introduced us, I'm Danielle Butt. I'm Mary Perky, I teach first grade. And so we just want to share a little bit about our experience attending and also presenting at the Raising Student Achievement Conference, this past December. So if you're not aware what Raising Student, oh, we're still not yet. If you're not aware what the Raising Student Achievement Conference is, it's a conference that's put on once a year by the ROE and also the Illinois Association of Regional Superintendents. It's a conference that offers a lot of great opportunities for teachers. They have 2 keynote speakers as well as over 200 breakout sessions, which is really a unique experience because teachers are able to choose the breakout rooms they want to go to that best suit their interests or what they want to learn more about. In each breakout room, there's time for reflection, there's time to learn new strategies, new skills. And what's really great is so many of these things you can implement immediately into your classroom. So you can take these strategies or these ideas and start using them the next day with your students. And so that was actually, that quote on the other one is a group of us who attended. So Millburn sends a team of teachers from both MES and the middle school. And so that was the group that went this past year with us to attend and learn. So this year, Mary and I not only attended, but we also presented. And so we chose to present on differentiation. So our presentation was called Invested in Instruction, Differentiation, and Student Engagement Strategies. Danielle and I are both really passionate about differentiation. We both used to teach at the same district together, and there was a lot of need for differentiation there. So it's something that we've invested a lot of learning time into, as well as at Millburn. In all of our classes, you're going to have students who range from low to high, and how do you meet the needs of all of those students? So we wanted to create this presentation to share with other teachers those techniques and strategies that we have learned throughout the years to able to help best meet all of those needs of students in our room. So what we presented on is the basics of differentiation, which really is how do you differentiate the content, the product, or the process of what you're trying to teach to the students. And then within that framework, all of those engagement strategies that you can use when you're teaching those lessons. So we, when we created our presentation, we wanted teachers to also be actively learning in those same areas. So we went through, we shared a little bit about what it does differentiating content need or process or product. And then we shared strategies and techniques that we use within our own classrooms with our students, and then provided opportunities for them to try out some of these strategies or reflect with other teachers so that we can all learn from one another. There's a lot of amazing things out there that people are already doing. So getting the opportunity to share and collaborate with others, and also being able to take an idea and what small iteration might you be able to change in order to best support students. And learning and hearing from one another is one of the best ways to be able to do that. So these are just some pictures of from one of the activities where we had teachers practice a strategy called cubing to differentiate the process. We gave varying level questions. We centered ours around differentiation, but then provide opportunities to talk about what other areas might you be able to incorporate this into math or ELA or science or social studies, where students are grouped by different level questions. So this was just a practice activity where they have to do that with differentiation. And then on the next couple of slides, these were just samples of like their anchor chart activities that they did where they had various level questions to practice what does differentiation mean. So the last thing we just kind of wanted to cover was why did we want to attend this conference? And I think we've basically given you a good overview of that, but why we really wanted to attend is this is really a unique opportunity for teachers. You don't often get a lot of time like this to spend a day. We spent 2 days, they were lucky enough to be there 2 days to learn from each other. Danielle kind of touched on that. So many people have great ideas they're already doing in their classrooms. To be able to hear from other teachers what's working with them, with their classroom, with their students was really a unique experience for us. Another reason that we wanted to attend is because of that breakout room aspect we talked about. There were so many different choices, so many different things you could learn about to start using with your students and in your classroom. It's really a wonderful conference that we're very happy we got the opportunity to attend. And then as far as why we wanted to present, as Mary mentioned earlier, we're very passionate about learning new things and finding strategies that work best to support our students, but also that building that community of learners with other teachers and having those opportunities when we go to sessions to be inspired by others and being able to kind of give back to that, especially after kind of the craziness that COVID has been. being able to go and connect with people and even connect across the district with staff members, because oftentimes there's so many things, you know, everyone's lives are busy and things that are happening on a day-to-day basis, that just even having those 2 days to kind of sit back, connect, and actually talk about things that matter with student learning was so important. So it's really awesome that we are provided those opportunities here at Millburn, to help support those professional learning moments for teachers. So that was another part of why we also wanted to kind of present and be a part of that process. So that's what we have. Do you have any questions?
Well, I would imagine that differentiation required a lot of effort, right? You have to look at the product, content,
Yep.
processing, you have to differentiate these children. I would imagine that one of the key elements in enabling you to do that is a manageable class size. And if that's the case, you know, that's something that we always look at and try and manage. I know Dr. Lennon is very closely at that, so. But my question is, what are some of the other elements that can contribute to making differentiation more manageable?
Well, and actually you touch on a big part of what we actually started in our presentation and sharing before we even got to what does differentiation mean? We talked a lot about, in order to differentiate effectively and to build that instruction, you need to have relationships with students. So getting back to that point of, you know, our 2 goals this year at Millburn, really focusing on that belonging piece, that's a huge part. Kids feeling like they belong, staff feeling like they belong, knowing, getting to know who students are as people, and for them to truly know who you are and build those authentic relationships. That's the foundation of any sort of way to be able to differentiate and really teach students instructionally.
And then the second part, I think that goes with it, that we are implementing here, which I think is so important, not only to our community and building a community of learners, but also to be able to differentiate, is doing the PLC model that we're doing. Doing the PLC model as opposed to just a traditional team meeting means that we as a team are looking at our students, we're looking at the data, we're looking at them as a whole. So now we are not going to say, are the students in Miss Hershey's room struggling, but what first graders are struggling and what are we going to do as a team to solve that? So a lot of that then moves into differentiation. We might do grouping, we might be switching rooms. I know upper grades do that a lot. But without that PLC model, we wouldn't be able to do as much differentiation as we do. And class size is smaller grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Small class size.
I have a quick question. I know it's difficult to differentiate. I assume that you guys are working really hard with the PLCs to make sure that any of the differentiation doesn't lose its rigor, right? Because it's easy to say, oh, well, we can just do this. And then it becomes quite an easy thing, but I just want to make sure everybody's on that same page, that even though we're changing things because students need it, that grit portion, that rigor portion still exists.
For sure. And really the model of differentiation isn't meant to change learning. It's to see what is that standard that we want students to achieve. We're always starting with that standard and really just thinking about how can we kind of navigate instead of, you know, it's not going to be a straight, but how can we blind, but how can we kind of connect the dots? And some kids' paths might look a little bit different, but the goal is still the same and those standards are still the same for students, always starting with those learning targets and our standards, for sure.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
On
Two
your-
exceptional teachers in our building, and now you know why I invited them here to talk, actually without even planning, hit on 2 of the district's priorities this year in the PLCs and building connections. So thank you for mentioning that, wrapping that all together. That was great. Thank you very much.
All right,
You don't have to stay, but you can.
This is pretty riveting stuff, yeah.
on to our action item, approve the Red Apple lease agreement.
Okay, so, Dr. Lynn and I are recommending that the board approve the licensing agreement with Red Apple Academy for the 23-24 school year. Just a little bit of background information. So Red Apple is a preschool that runs 2 two rooms, here in the building. They provide us with 20% of their gross income for the use of the two rooms. So last year, the district received $30,455.74 in income. And so far this year, we've received $18,025.18. Another thing I'd like to point out is just the convenience that it provides for some of our staff who have preschoolers, and they're able to bring their children here during the day.
Is there questions on that?
And just a quick question, so we do have that revenue from that. Was there any increase in insurance for the district for hosting us?
For hosting Red Apple?
Red Apple,
No.
Good question.
okay, good. Good, 'cause that could offset.
And we asked that question a couple of years ago,
Okay,
when we first started this process of leasing, and
okay, good, good.
it's not a significant, not a significant enough increase in liability
Okay.
risk
For it to be material to the
to be
rates.
material. And we're
Okay.
self-insured, we're part of a co-op, so
Yeah.
if it did become that, then
Okay,
we'd have that history, but
okay.
it's been a good relationship.
And yes, and I actually met with, the owner today, and she said that her numbers have increased
Good.
dramatically this year, which makes a little bit of sense given COVID starting to, figure out, I guess, a little bit, but yeah. She's got increased numbers.
So essentially, the lease has not changed as it has been like over the last, forever. As far as like the Red Apple lease, like nothing's changed essentially.
No,
Okay.
yeah. Do you mean in terms of cost or just
Like
in
in-
general,
Like in
anything?
terms of cost in general, if anything is changing, like use of rooms, if there's gonna be like an increase of like obligation on our part.
No, nothing is changing.
Any other questions? We have a motion on approval?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Buziak,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pettering,
yes,
Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you. We also have to approve the resignation of a school board member. Does anyone have any questions on this?
So, Vanessa Goss has, resigned her position on the school board. She's moved out of the district. And so as a condition of serving on the school board, you have to be a resident of the Millburn district. And since she no longer is, she submitted her resignation. This is just an acceptance of that. So we thank Vanessa for her service, this past couple of years, and, wish her all the best.
We have a motion to approve the resignation of school board member.
I move to approve the resignation of school board member Vanessa Voss.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
So in follow-up to that, I'm assuming that the board is going to want me to put out a request for applications tomorrow.
We were assuming you.
I know, but I'm just saying this for the record.
Got applicants right over here.
So, just as a reminder of the process, I'm meeting Veronica. Will send out, a letter tomorrow asking for people to apply. Generally, we get anywhere between 6 to 12 applicants. The board would look at those applications. Interested parties can submit a brief resume, a little letter, and answer the questions that we have. They're kind of like interview questions, but just brief, short answer questions about why they're interested in the board. And so
Come up with those in the closed session.
we don't, unless you want to change them.
Is this just to finish her term out?
Yes.
When
So 2
is
years.
she done?
So
2
it'll
years?
be April, this is 23, right? So April 25.
Okay.
She's about
Yeah, that's our class.
Our class.
Your class.
It'll be basically a regular interview for a job type deal.
So the next meeting, then you would narrow down, if there's enough applicants, narrow it down to
Usually
3 or so.
narrow it down to three, yeah.
And then the following meeting, you'd interview and choose and then appoint at the following.
Jason,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, it seems like these emails go out to, the parents and guardians of the students that are here,
Yes,
but
correct.
they really don't make it out to the taxpayer base. And you don't have to have a kid in the district in order to be on the board.
Correct.
Is there any way to broaden the scope here?
The only way that I know of to broaden the scope is to have you all post it on your Facebook. So you can forward that out to all your friends, just to provide notice, and that's usually how the word spreads.
Okay, and for Luddites like me, who are not on Facebook.
Lucky. Trying to carry a pigeon?
Put that out on the Millburn site, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
But
yeah.
who's gonna visit the Millwood site? That's not.
right.
Somebody who's interested in how their taxes are being spent.
It wouldn't hurt.
So that's, I mean,
Yeah.
if that's a compelling reason for someone to, go out to the site, and certainly that's.
Sure. Has the board ever put something in the paper, like,
The
hey,
problem is that you can, we have,
you know,
I was gonna say. well,
I don't know.
What's
I don't even know if there is a paper,
well, I posted, it's still posted.
the Herald, yeah.
Yeah.
But that might draw on people who are, then I get confused as far as boundary and
The
stuff.
challenge with that is the
Right.
timelines,
Right.
Yeah,
Alright.
but we can try it.
I think that was really just a question. you know. I just don't know if there's an effective way to just cast a broader net.
Right.
If you guys come up with some, feel free to email Dr. Lynn. I'm sure he'll take it into account.
Okay.
But
Fair enough.
We do have 3 board members currently, we have children here.
it's gonna give a wide variety.
Agreed.
Any other questions? Approval of the semi-annual review of closed session minutes and destruction of audio tapes more than 18 months old.
So if there's no questions, all you need to do is approve it as presented. So these are closed session minutes that we have to.
It all looks good.
Yeah.
The
Agreed.
whole checklist look good.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the semi-annual review of closed session minutes and destruction of audio tapes more than 18 months old.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the settlement agreement with a former student.
So we will need a motion to approve the settlement agreement with former student number 1232023-A.
With 1232023-8.
Correct.
So we had all this discussion. No questions, right? I mean, everyone's confident, understanding. Yeah, move to approve the settlement agreement with former student 1232023-A.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federing?
Yes.
Ms. Roberts? Yes. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Rubio?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzo?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to remove from the consent agenda?
No, but I have a question.
Sure.
All right, under hires, John Ruggles, that is, if I remember correctly, one of the candidates to be on this board. Correct?
Correct.
So how would that,
I will ask specifically about that. So a school board member cannot be an employee of the school district. So as a substitute, he would be an employee, but I'm gonna double check that he's not, but he can sub between now and then.
Okay.
He's not.
yeah, I kind of figured that, but I'm like, all right. He's
Yeah.
got 2 months left.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Right
And
now,
I talked to
probably
him.
help.
You did talk to him?
I talked to him. I haven't circled back to.
Okay. Okay, and then, resignations. MES nurse. This is the second, I believe, the second nurse we've had resign from the elementary school recently. Correct? Didn't we have one?
I thought we had one earlier.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
what's going on
What's going on?
in the, nurses' room in the elementary school?
Just bad luck.
Yeah, nothing nefarious.
Nothing? Okay. Okay. All right, then those are my 2 questions.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as, written.
I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Federini,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts, Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Buziak,
Yes.
the motion passed.
All right. Information and discussion, MLK breakfast.
Okay, we held an MLK breakfast, Martin Luther King Junior breakfast last week on Monday. Um, We had 107 people show up to the breakfast. We had light breakfast and then a speaker afterwards, and we'll take, any feedback we get from that of, how, if anybody has any ideas for next year of what they would like to see of speakers or activities or food or anything like that. It was very successful. I want to thank Veronica for putting that together. She worked hard on putting all the details together, getting it all ready to go. So
Thanks, Veronica.
Don't say that, we got a.
No, I'm joking.
1 month.
I have a lot of,
Months and 15 days.
we have a lot of staff members helping.
We did. Yep. Carol was there and Mrs. Coleman was there.
Hearing to waive the state holidays of Lincoln birthday, Veterans Day, Casimir Flag.
So we have to have a hearing to waive these state holidays in order to approve our calendar. We have to do this. Some of them we have to do on a triennial basis or every other year. Some are every year. So in order to make sure that we get this done, we're just gonna keep doing it every year. So we'll have an official hearing before one of the board meetings. So if anybody has any objection to us taking Lincoln's birthday off, which we've taken off every year since I've been here, or Casimir Pulaski Day, which we've taken off the last 5 or 6 years, or Veterans Day, which we've taken off the last 5 or 6 years. But we've had those hearings in the past. I want to make sure that we're doing officially what we need to do. To make that work.
When's Casimir Pulaski?
March, it's the first Monday in March.
We haven't had these, did we? We have to not have these to have the calendar that we approved. I missed a meeting, so I didn't know. Did we talk about this at length or no? Not these specific holidays?
So if we have school on, for example, Veterans Day,
Mhm.
then we have to have activities
Right.
that teach kids about Veterans Day, which, as it turns out, when we first had school, if you recall, on Veterans Day, there were some people who said, well, we're not honoring vets, but now they say this is way better because before the kids didn't know why they had a day off. Now we bring our veterans in, we do a big deal, we have a lunch and a presentation, and the middle school has another ceremony and other activities surrounding that, so they actually learn more about veterans and are honoring the veterans better than when we just had a day off. The kids just were home.
Yeah.
So,
Y'all do a very good job.
yeah,
Actually, got my father-in-law here for that state.
My father-in-law's been in too. He loves it. It's great.
Any other questions on that? All right, let's discuss hygiene products in the boys' back.
Okay, I'll start with an apology, first of all, to the school board. For not communicating that this was going to be happening when it happened. So I messed up on that because, well, there's no reason, I just messed up. Dropped the ball on communicating that this was happening, that this is the law, that this is what we have to do, at least from my understanding. I know we had a conversation about this a year ago when the law first occurred. And we had some discussion and some questions. The board had some questions about it, some discussions about it. The law, the language in the law is a little bit goofy to be best, and very unclear about, is this a state mandate or not? In the meantime, I had done a little preliminary checking, and there's talk amongst the superintendents last year about what everybody was gonna do, and the consensus was, well, we have to do it. The discussion was not whether or not we had to do it, but what grade level. So specifically for this building, amongst the superintendents at least, and some business managers, when Dr. Johns was here, it was whether or not you had to put them in every bathroom in this building, or only bathrooms that served 4th and 5th grade, for example. So there's two interpretations that I got last week on that. I'll get back to some other questions too. But on that particular question, there's two interpretations on that. From the State Board of Education, their interpretation is that it is every bathroom in the building. If you have a 4th grade and 5th grade group like we do here, you'd have to have them in every single bathroom. The ROE said, no, you don't. The RO, and the reason why the timing of this is coming up is because we have a compliance visit in the next 2 weeks where they're gonna come and check, and it's on our list of things that they're going to determine that it was done or not. So the ROE said, no, you have to have only 4th and 5th graders use those bathrooms. Or if they're, if you have a 4th grade wing, which we do, or a 5th grade wing, you can just those would be designated bathrooms. So that narrows it down a little bit. Nonetheless. So that's part of the discussion. We had ordered the dispensers last year. They were supposed to be put in last year. It never got done. And I never circled back to the board on, hey, this is what I found out then, and I never did a deep dive. I didn't call our attorney to make sure this is kind of neglected to do it, and didn't take that proactive approach, which I completely apologize for, and that's on me. The second thing I want to apologize about is not telling parents that this is coming, and staff too. The staff were a little bit taken aback because we didn't know when, and all of a sudden there's products in the boys' bathroom, and it became a little. It would have been nice to have a heads up, roll it out. We had actually talked about when this happens, we're going to have to tell parents that it's coming, and we're going to have to tell kids so they don't screw around, so they don't flush them down the toilets and cause plumbing issues, things like that. But we didn't do that, so that's on me, and I dropped the ball there. So I am truly sorry about that. As far as what to do now with them, that's where the board can have a discussion tonight. And I also want to touch on some of the comments earlier about, does this mean that boys can use girls' bathrooms? This does not change whether or not boys can go in boys' bathrooms or girls can go in girls' bathrooms, although that might be some of the context behind the law. I don't know, but it does not change our current policy on that. So after talking to our attorney on Friday. There's a lot of discussing on Friday, Thursday, and Friday. And talking to Sean, who really dug deep into the law and some of the language behind the law. Are again, ISB's interpretation is every bathroom in this building. ROE said, no, we're only gonna require you to do it in the 4th grade bathrooms and 5th grade bathrooms. You know, those designated bathrooms. Our attorney said maybe you could get by with just doing it at the middle school. But that's their interpretation. Sean has a different take. So
Yeah, when I saw it, I thought it was completely missing. And the idea that any adults could come to agreement on proposing something like this, absolutely egregious, that they didn't consider operationally what that will do in the schools, to try and keep students separate while using the washroom, because I know those people in the General Assembly use their washroom with comfort, knowing they're with people of their same gender, which is the way it's been for ages, for good reason. So, a couple things, but there's several things I'd like to address. One, I was shocked and I was livid because this is not how you operate, and I know that. And this was such a departure on something that I think is so important just for the privacy of the children, the legal issues that can arise from this. The poor job that the Illinois General Assembly did in writing it, I think they use it simply for getting votes from their constituency.
That's all.
Simply to appeal to constituency, so they write these loosely to get enough people on board to pass it, so they can say that we fought for these rights. I've got a real hard time with it because they can call it an unfunded mandate, but the fact is, or they won't call it an unfunded mandate, but it absolutely is. And I do know that when we talked, I said, I had 2 predictions. One, that the usage rate in the boys' restroom would be far higher than the usage rate in the girls' restroom, at least in short order. I don't know if that came to pass, but I would believe, and you don't have to be a genius to think that. And then also that you'll have kids getting in trouble that didn't get in trouble because there's something new and they're silly. But we as adults, especially on the board, and should be legislators thinking the same way, we have to think for the kids. They're young, they're growing up. They're gonna do silly things. That's why we create safe environments. This creates a very dangerous environment. We have very recent examples in Virginia school districts of abuses taking place. And so that day when it was brought up, I said, please pull up the bill. And if we can, Stacy, can you pull that up? I gave you the words just to put into Google and it'll come up. HB-0156 space Illinois. So this is a school code, but there's also there's a cover.
yeah, I
From
can't
the
get-
Illinois, you can't, if you Google,
I
it
did
will
it.
come up. If you Google, they will come. It will come up, but in that, inclusive of this, there is House Floor Amendment 2. And there are some key elements to this that have to be considered. First of all, I'll read off the synopsis as introduced. This is as introduced, and it's simply a synopsis. It amends the school code, provides that a school district shall make menstrual rather than feminine hygiene products available. Because in the readings from the proceedings of the General Assembly, it said that would imply that only females would have use for these products. At no cost to students, in each, this is where the key verbiage is, in each bathroom of every school building, rather than, and quote, in bathrooms of school buildings. Okay? In bathrooms of school buildings, and that's what it was. And they tried changing it to in each bathroom of every school building. There's House Floor Amendment number 2. And it provides, and here it's stated, provides that menstrual hygiene products shall be made in bathrooms, not in each bathroom, but in bathrooms of every school building that are open for student use, and this is where it's very clear, in grades 4 through 12 during the regular school day. And then rather than in each bathroom of every building. So that was a key element of House Amendment 2. There are the fiscal notes, and there are the two, I believe, that the attorney referred to. There's one, a fiscal note, and it says HB 156 will not have a fiscal impact to the State Board of Education. And that's convenient. The second part, state mandates fiscal note, House Floor Amendment number 2. And it clearly states here, the bill does not create a state mandate. And so that was my objection that night. So there's two elements I think that really are key to consider here. One, the amendment says it does not create a state mandate. And you had said that the attorney said that's where they would normally put something about an unfunded mandate. But the fact is, they're reckless in that. So if they wanted to say, and if it's implied it doesn't create an unfunded mandate, that means there should be no cost to the schools. Clearly, there's a cost for the machines. There's a cost for keeping up with the products. There's a cost with clearing the pipes if they get flushed down, and there's some issues that arise from that. There's a cost from dealing with the legal issues that will arise from this because these are kids, right? So like I say, the adults that are writing these things that enjoy their privacy when they use the restroom are not going to afford that to the students and didn't take the time to write a cohesive bill. So for that, I think to me, it looks like there's the option of whether to do that or not. Now, the fact is they're installed.
Yeah.
The course is, what do we do going forward? I absolutely am opposed, and I'll use the verbiage that's commonly used. I'm absolutely opposed to those students that were assigned the opposite gender at their time of birth, using the bathrooms that are posted by gender. From a practical standpoint, we're instructed as boards by the IASB and ISBE to stay out of operational things. I think is much larger than operational, although I'm assuming it's a pretty serious operational impact. I just think if there's an opportunity to vote it out, I vote them out. Or if we have to keep them there to pass ISB audit, or compliance visits, we know that ISB continues to stretch the policies where there's no reason for it. I've called it out probably 4 times in the last 8 or 10 meetings where we have examples of ISB saying, oh, you should do this, or you must do this in policy. And then when we look, it's not required by law, but it's allowing them to further their social agenda. I'm absolutely opposed to this. I would first like to see these taken out. If not, before the compliance visit, then I would like signs put up that say, this bathroom is restricted to those students that are restricted to those students that were assigned this gender, whatever it may be, at birth. I think we should afford privacy to our students that we want to enjoy and that we do enjoy at work, wherever we go. We enjoy that privacy. So that's my position on it. I don't know where we end up with this. I think, to me, this is clear. There's an amendment. We have amendments to our Constitution. We honor those amendments to our Constitution. So we should honor the amendments to this House bill. And I've heard through many channels how a social agenda is being pushed, and that in order to get it put through with all the differing opinions of members within the General Assembly, we're continuing to soften the language. But we'll put a time horizon on those things and say, we won't enforce this for a period of more than some time. Or they'll pass a bill that has an amendment that says, this does not create a state mandate. I think they're irresponsible for putting this through. I think it's unconscionable to enforce this. And I'm open to hearing more from the board.
If it explicitly states that it doesn't create a state mandate, I mean, Correct me if I'm wrong.
It
All I
explicitly
hear,
says that.
all I hear is optional.
Yeah, that was my objection. That was my objection, but Jason, you heard from the attorney that said, but that's typically in a line where they say whether it's an unfunded mandate or not. But that looks like the line above
Yeah.
to me.
It
I
didn't say
feel-
anything about funding.
I feel like
It just-
It doesn't, they have the opportunity to say in that line, this does not create an unfunded mandate. And if that's the case, if that's what's being implied here, that means the schools don't have to expend any money. Right? Clearly, clearly, there will be continued ongoing costs. Clearly, the risk of legal, liability will result in more money. And I know, we share concerns. But like I say, given a chance, I would strike this down. And in fact, and I'm not certain, I was looking at other bills today, it looked to me that House Bill, I believe it's 1201, was introduced in January to try and get it to read.
Yeah.
Each bathroom in every building.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
Are you gonna pull that up or can I say my spiel?
I have
Okay.
0156, I
Say a lot.
will get that now.
Yeah, I still can't get the it goes to the hemoglobin test of that, when I type in.
Blocked. Big brother, Jason.
I got to it earlier, but I got to just the actual bill.
Sorry, it's not 1201, it may be 1210, sorry. But at any rate, what is enforced and what has been approved right now was House Bill 0156. And by the way, the Associated Public Act with 0156 does not say each bathroom of every building. It says in bathrooms of every building.
So I have a lot to say about this. First of all, thanks for your apology, because I learned about this from my son, who came home and was like, Daddy, there's tampons and napkins in the bathroom. And I said, okay, in the girls' bathrooms? No, in my bathroom. And so I was like, oh, all right, well, I kind of knew something was coming along. So that was a bit of a shock, as a parent to, irrespective of being a board member, just trying to navigate that. And I guess we're having this discussion now, and explain those things. So thanks for your acknowledgement on that. I know that, in our age of transparency and whatever catchwords you want to use, it's hard to stay current on everything. You can't. Sean hit the nail on the head on a lot of these issues with me. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, I'm having a challenging time today and tonight, really reining in my emotions and thinking of this from the perspective of a board member. Because many of us are parents here, but as a board member, I have to think about not only my kids, but other kids too. And, the gentlemen and ladies who contributed tonight, they brought up some really pertinent points. Privacy, safety, we're sexualizing our kids. This is something that's forced upon them. There's no choice here. How can we, our body, address this with the state? What's our autonomy? What can we do with the ROE? So these are a couple of things that I've been thinking about, and I explored what Sean talked about. Initially, it said, oh, it's only for 6th through 8th grade. Now it's 4th through 8th, then it's K. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going on with this thing.
4 through 12.
It's ridiculous. So I have a couple things that I'd like to say and ask. We need to know if it is a mandate or a law. It sounds like it's a mandate based on the language that says this does not create a state mandate. So if there's no state mandate, am I up? Is that it? Come on, man, I finally get to say drunk. Because if this is a mandate, then hit the road, right? It doesn't talk about financial responsibility yet. It costs money to buy the machines. It costs labor time to install machines. It costs money to stock the machines. Guess who pays for that? these guys and us. All right? So my 10-year-old boy can get a tampon that he's gonna flush down the toilet. Cause I did that when I was 10, right? Boys are boys. All right, so what are the repercussions from the state or the Regional Office of Education or ISBE or the parents? And where are we accountable? All right, unless somebody says, we can take money from your school, we can take funding from your school, we can shut your school down, we're not accountable for that, in my opinion. So there needs to be some skin in the game with who we're answering to here. What an ironic meeting not to have boss here. This would have exploded. I mean, I was prepping myself. I'm like, oh, I got to respond to her. I can't wait. A boy, a man in the history of mankind has never needed this product. They will never need this product forever. Period. I don't care what you think you are. I don't care if a kid says, oh, I think I'm a girl. They think what you want to, but you're not. Okay. If we want to get into chromosomes, then we can get into chromosomes. And one of the gentlemen said this is indicative of bigger issues throughout the state. You're right. It's a disaster out there. Nobody knows. This is the only choice we don't get to make. You're a boy or a girl. That's it. You got it. You can choose everything else. But now we're making this a choice, and now we're imposing this on schools, and now we have to talk to our kids about this. Daddy, how come there's tampons in my bathroom? Because there's a bunch of idiots in Springfield. That's why. Who made this decision at 3 a.m, who did all they could to get this passed with their buddies. Oh yeah, we'll pass this. Who softened all the language so you're not able to pinpoint anything. I am so opposed to this. This is like the in control version. I can't even tell you guys. I mean, it's pure lunacy that we're even having this discussion. It's offensive that we're having this discussion. I went to high school, I went to college, I got my master's, I'm an educated, we're all educated people here. Why is this even a thing? I'm sorry, it's my frustration boiling over a bit about this. I would like to propose that since there is soft language because it benefits the people who wrote this bill, and there are discrepancies within the bill. One says, K through 12 or whatever it is, 4 through 12. One says 4 through 8. You can't really pinpoint anything that says you have to do this. We're going to put a padlock on the doors. I'm totally against this entire thing, 100%. It agitates me, and it's frankly, it's ridiculous. And that's largely what I have to say. I like the thing about privacy and safety. I hadn't thought about that. As a growing young man, it's weird enough to use a urinal. As a 50-year-old man, it's weird enough to, you go to a Bears game and you're like, hey, what's going on? Then we're throwing in someone who thinks they're a boy. But later they might change their mind and say, hey, guess what? I saw Pete at the urinal. You'll never guess what he's at, right? All of this stuff we have to take into consideration. And I think that's largely what I wanted to say, but I will go to bat against this, period.
I have a question for Jason.
Yeah.
Could you answer Pete's question?
Oh, yeah.
What if we tell them to pound sand?
I would love to answer that question. Because I asked that question. What happens if, and this goes, so we have a few hundred items of compliance, and we'll be out of compliance the first round.
Yeah.
We are every year, they always find something that we need to adjust or change or. So I said, what happens if we don't do that? We would not get full recognition as a school. So.
What does that mean?
What is
Is
that
it
under?
like-
Yeah.
When they were threatening, schools regarding like the COVID thing, where they're like, we're not gonna like fund you or you can't. do this,"
Exactly.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there were schools that said, we're not doing this, and nothing happened, period.
Correct.
So this might just be,
So in our further conversation, he said, well, you'll just be perpetually on probationary status or whatever it's called.
But
How
again,
Yeah, what does that mean?
Can't-
What is it?
Nothing.
Is it double secret probation, like,
again, we've got the regional office of education saying, no, it doesn't have to happen. We have the amendment that says in bathrooms of every school building. But the language that in each bathroom of every school
Isn't
building
there.
was struck out in the amendment. So it is what it is. If they want to come back to General Assembly and revisit this and actually get it passed saying each bathroom of every school building, and they have to be there, then the only way I'd be in favor of complying is if they're on the girls' bathroom sign, it says only the people that were assigned girl or female at time of birth may enter.
2X chromosomes.
Because you could leave the machines there, be in compliance. And then be very clear on who uses what bathroom. There are single-use bathrooms for students that may be addressing their gender, maybe working through their sexuality. There's single-use bathrooms for that, machines could be in there. I mean, that wouldn't be a problem, I don't think it'd be a problem for anyone. Maybe they're farther from classrooms and they would need to be afforded more time to go there. But the bottom line is, I've heard instances where there's students walking around at the high school that wear a pin. And that pin tells you at that moment of that day, what gender they are. The pin can change throughout the day, it can change from day to day. We cannot make policy and we cannot make operational procedures based on when that can change with the changing of the
Feelings.
pin. And I don't support this at all. If there is the danger or the chance that we don't pass the compliance business solely because we don't have these in the bathroom. And we lose some benefit for that could result from the compliance visit. And I would want clearly posted. Boys' bathroom, girls' bathroom. You cannot allow children of different genders to go in, because if you allow someone born female to go into the boys' bathroom to get something, how can we in good conscience say, a boy, someone who's born a boy at birth, goes into the female bathroom? Because some of the original intent in this bill, two things stuck out to me. One, and this was some of the discussion, it's not all the discussion, we should be very conscientious here. One was, this was to reduce absenteeism, because there were homes that couldn't afford products, and so the students would just stay at home when necessary, because there wasn't availability of products, and that was one of the key drivers, is to reduce absenteeism. To reduce absenteeism, you don't need to put them in the boys' bathroom. Another driver was or some of the discussion that went on behind it was that, well, if they run out of product in the girls' bathroom, a girl could simply ask a boy, hey, can we get some? I don't know how that happens. If you're in the bathroom, but
I'm in a
there are
basket.
also nurses' offices. There are other ways to do this. I think this is to achieve political means, and I don't think we should use our children
Correct.
to achieve. political
I
means.
agree with that. I feel like this is virtue signaling, and I think,
Well,
I think it's incredibly, not coincidental at all that we received an email regarding the rapid background checks and that are utilized in an effort to keep our children safe. And then in the same breath, we're discussing, putting, pads and tampons in boys' bathrooms and giving boys access to girls' bathrooms and vice versa.
So, I'm sorry, the punishment is probation, double secret probation forever. That comes from who? ROE, ISBE, or the state? You know,
It's the Illinois Board of Education, State Board of Education, through the ROE. So the ROE
Okay.
is the,
local or regional.
yes. So they carry out the compliance visit. The local ROE carries out the compliance visits. But it's under the authority of the Illinois State Board of Education, which recognizes, provides recognition.
And you said earlier, we would probably be out of compliance for numerous other things.
Initially,
I would assume most schools would be.
yeah, most
People,
schools are
they
there.
got a door, they put the wedge in it, they got windows open, they got, right?
Correct. But the question is, do you,
Is this something that we can bring to the parents? Like what you all think? And this is the risk associated if we choose not to do this? I mean, I feel like that's something that.
We could just put it out there, not necessarily as a question, you know, say, hey, here are scenarios, that type of thing.
Because I do feel like parents should be made like aware.
So, I've read this bill a couple of times. I don't see any part of this bill that talks about people from opposite genders going into someone else's bathroom. If that's a completely separate bill that was passed a long time ago, we have had trans people in this school who have used bathrooms of the gender that they were not assigned at birth. There was no problem.
I'm not
All this
in favor.
bill is saying is put hygiene products in bathrooms.
The discussion that went on
Behind.
the formulation for this bill. Okay, and they try and get.
Does
the
it say
original
in the
intent.
bill?
It's not written into the bill,
No.
it says each.
It's not written in the bill because we already have a law in Illinois that says trans people can use
What law?
opposite gender
And is it-
bathrooms.
and is it
So
restricted to age? Because I'd like to see that bill.
So,
If you could pull that bill up, that'd be great.
and a lot of the comments you guys have been making about trans people have been extremely offensive to trans people. Just because it's your belief that there's only two genders and that's all that is, doesn't mean that you get to offend everybody else.
So,
So,
Fred,
no.
let me ask, did I say something offensive? 'Cause I didn't say anything about trans people, I talked about. If
Yes.
someone's working through their gender issues with their gender,
Yeah,
then they
because
can
trans
use
people
individual
are not people who choose a gender based on whims or feelings.
You know what? It can change with several times within a day.
So you've got
So
a
that was an
story
instance that I
of
used
somebody
an
who
example
wears
that I
a
used.
pin at the high school who changes their gender every day. So that's fine.
Maybe
But-
several times throughout the day.
So that's,
Is that offensive?
no,
I don't think
you
any
guys
of
wanna
our,
go do what you wanna do, but this bill has nothing to do with who's using what bathroom. It's feminine hygiene products,
No.
it's hygiene products, menstrual hygiene products
Can't say
in a
feminine.
bathroom.
Right.
Can't say feminine.
Okay, so why are they there? Oh, you know.
When does
why are
my-
there
when
not
does my
urinals?
son
Why are there
start
not
to
urinals
menstruate? I'm gonna go
in
down.
a girl's bathroom? Or are there?
they're empty, no machines are there, but they're empty, from what I heard. At least in some of the guys' bathrooms.
And as far as being offensive, I mean, you know,
There's what?
there are people that like to say, well, follow the science, okay? And that comes up an awful lot, well, follow the science. Take a chromosome test, you will know whether you're a boy or a girl, and it has nothing to do with being offensive, it has nothing to do with being discriminatory. It is what it is.
It's not the sign.
That is the science. Oh, how can you sit there and say that a chromosome test is not going to tell you whether you're male or female?
Well, read
That's
the
the
science
science.
then.
That's
Read
the
it.
science. Read what?
The science.
I,
Go find a study about it and read it.
yes,
But can we move
I-
on to something else?
No.
Because you guys have been arguing about a bill. Can we go to Illinois State and
No,
tell these
but-
people?
no,
what to
Mr.
do?
President, we cannot. And this is the reason we can't move on, because what we have here is, we have a constituency that we are responsible to.
Yeah.
People have elected us, except in my particular situation where I was appointed. But finally, we've got some people's attention here. So they hit the boiling point. This is it. I'm hoping that they're gonna draw a line in the sand and say, enough of this crap.
Enough of this crap.
There you go. Thank you so much.
I understand.
And if I may finish, thank you. All right, the inmates have taken over the asylum. And that's what's going on here. It happened slowly and we let it happen. Every one of us let it happen. And it's not right. And if offline you want to have a debate about science, I will have it with you. Because the science that we're talking about here, I learned as a freshman in high school. So there is no other science, psychobabble science, crap science.
I think it's
But that's it.
healthy that I think it's healthy that we're talking about this. I
It-
do,
well,
because
well, it
we
is
need
healthy.
to, we have to talk about this. And it's great, this is like the biggest attendance we've ever had. And I mean, no, but seriously, like as a parent,
But
You know,
everybody
and a
seems
board
to be
member.
offended over the fact of who's choosing a bathroom, not necessarily what's in the bathroom, except for the fact that it might cost money.
Here's the thing.
No,
The assumption is, and it's a good assumption, is that a girl can go into a boy's bathroom. Vice versa, a boy can go into a girl's bathroom. And I'll be honest with you, these folks here, I appreciate it, because if my daughter were still in this school, I'd be jumping up and down on this table here. I really would be.
We're not
Because-
allowing girls to go into boys' bathrooms and boys to go into
You
girls'
just
bathrooms.
said that
You
we
ju-
had trans students that have.
But you just said it yourself.
You just said it.
A trans person,
Is what?
a trans person.
No, a trans person is an XX or an XY. That's it. They can call them, hey. I can call myself anything that I want to, but when you take a blood test of me, you're gonna find out what I am. And it's no more scientific than that. I can say I came from freaking Jupiter.
That's nice.
All right, wait a minute, guys. What are we gonna do? Yeah.
Right, right.
Let's tackle the argument.
Okay, so the argument
Let's
is,
figure it out.
you
and let's
get rid
move
of
on.
the damn machines.
So I know that like this is like a bill and it's been signed and all that other stuff. There's always choices. So I get that it's like already been signed and the ink is dry, but we still have the choice not to comply. And I think that is what's being discussed.
Where do we start with choosing not to comply?
Well, wait, and to say comply, that implies that it's a mandate.
Hmm,
And the
point.
bill itself states
right. it's
That is
not a
not-
mandate.
it's not a state mandate, whether in fact they intended to indicate whether that's an unfunded mandate or not.
So we can
It says
probably
this
discuss
does not create a state mandate. Amendment number 2 also states that it is not in each bathroom of every building.
Correct.
It is in bathrooms. We have these in bathrooms.
So can we
But
discuss?
the
what
Regional
it is?
Office of Education has it on their list of stuff they're checking for when you check.
We have to say to hell with you, it's on your list and we don't care.
Where do we stop saying to hell with you?
We never say that. We never say, we're not gonna do it. We don't do it to the ISBE, the IASB, we don't do it to the ROE. We never say no. We never say, this is enough. We never say that. And they just keep coming up with this stupid nonsense. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Our local school boards are jumping through these damned hoops. Sometimes getting money, most of the time not getting money. You got a bunch of bureaucrats that are sitting up there, trying to make a name for themselves or trying to get some goofball elected. And yet we still keep doing it. We don't say no. Now maybe we got some parents that are gonna be coming up and hopefully taxpayers saying, no, this is enough. We don't know how to talk to you, but you're not doing this to our kids and you're not spending our money to do it. Now, you as a board and a district, go back and you start yelling at the people that are telling you to do that. See, this whole system has been set up even when I got here. You're not supposed to make waves. You're not, once you come across as a board, and you decide on something, well, you really can't go out and comment otherwise. That's bullcrap. That is bullcrap. When does that happen in Congress? No, a bill gets passed. People don't like it. They go out and they complain. The state has this rigged at our level so that we don't make waves. Well, that's it. Now the waves are going to start being made because these people are out of control and they've been out of control for a long time. And if this board doesn't do it, I'll start doing it as a board member, and then you can come to me and say, oh, well,
So
you're
what are you
gonna
gonna
have
do
to
as
get
a
some
board?
disciplinary, disciplinary
What
thing.
are
And I'm
you
gonna
gonna
say,
do as a
bring
board?
it.
What are you gonna do as a board member?
I don't want to make it sound like a threat, but I'll start writing my letters. I'll start contacting people and I'll say that the decisions that are being made here are asinine. And then the board can come back and say, okay, well, we're gonna have to discipline Jim. And Jim's gonna say, I don't give a rat's ass.
So you're gonna call up a bunch of people to come in here every 2 weeks and talk?
Don't have to, there's gonna be more and more that we do every time.
The failure needs to default back to the parents and taxpayers, because that's who we're supposed to do everything. So,
And the kids.
yeah, and I would like to think and assume that the parents are going to have their children's best interest in mind. But ultimately, being as that they are minors, we can't walk up to them and be like, hey, 7-year-old Timmy, what do you think about having tampons in the boys' bathroom? Like, ultimately, I think it needs to go like that decision that this needs to be a discussion, like, it needs to be put out to the district, like to the people.
Question then, what do we do in the meantime? Because it's gonna take 2 weeks or a month to hear back from.
Can I just enter into this discussion?
Are you sure you want to do this?
Wow.
It's looking pretty bloody right
I was
now.
gonna say, you look pretty safe right there. Go ahead.
No, I do not want to. Yes, this was imposed on us, put us in a local position. Probably intentionally, maybe not, but this isn't the only thing. This has been happening for a long time where the state legislation keeps whittling away at local control. So this isn't new. I've been talking about this for a very long time. And it has come to a head on this particular issue. And yes, I made a mistake on the communication piece. I appreciate that. But I agree the silver lining could be that we start to have these discussions at the local level and have the discussion of when is it okay to say, you know what, this, I understand the intent and all this stuff, and we want to be welcoming of all students. We're talking about students, we're talking about safety, and there are parents of trans students who are just as concerned about safety as parents of traditional gendered students.
Yeah.
So let's have those conversations as parents. Now, if we can't have those conversations at the local level with people we know, that's gonna be pretty tough. But I think we're gonna have to let go a little bit of the national discussions and have it be a little bit more realistic. Look, because we have some control in this. I'm okay with making choices against the ROE when it comes to something that is clearly this different, and I think students even, or parents even of trans students probably can see the oddness of this particular bill and how it's not really gonna help, especially maybe at the fourth and fifth grade level, but I don't know, I don't speak for them, so. I'd like to have that conversation with them as well. So I agree. And I don't know that, this particular bill is, not directly impacting whether or not girls can go into boys and boys can go into girls. We're still enforcing that and have been for a while. And on another topic, whether or not we've had, trans students going into other gender bathrooms, I'm unaware of that at this point, but that's a whole deeper, more involved discussion that we have to have and should have with parents, so that at least you know. So at least you can tell if your kids are uncomfortable and you know this is happening, that they have choices of where they can use the bathrooms, where they feel safe, no matter what. Agreed, 100%. So let's get to those discussions. There's more, as far as advocacy from a board level, how do we advocate at the state level? Jim, I understand your passion. I think there's power in numbers. Sometimes the Management Alliance, which is the IASB, that's the Illinois Association of School Boards, which you guys are members of. That's the IASA, that's the Management Alliance that I'm a member of, and the IASBO, which Carly's a member of, joined forces to oppose this particular bill. Last year it was in the language where they actually asked about it. They did that. So generally, we have some say, we have people watching bills because there were 4,000 bills introduced on the first 2 days of legislation. It's hard to keep track of some of this. And it's a mess. I agree. It's very difficult, but we do have advocacy. So when, this is where sometimes it happens so fast, but I'd like to have our community talk about this so that we can push it out directly to legislators, because that's the most powerful. So for example, when 2 weeks ago, I alerted the board, went out on a limb with the national sex education standards that are trying to be passed. They introduced it last year, it was defeated. They introduced it in the lame duck session, which is the most dangerous time because you never know what's going to happen. And then now it was defeated there because 500 superintendents across the state emailed in and said, no, this is a huge unfunded mandate. The menstrual products in the bathrooms, tiny compared to what the national sex education standards would cost the district just to implement, much less the context and having those discussions about where and when. So I think we need to be okay with, at least if not everybody's going to agree on what to do, but at least have a conversation of what's going on, because I believe parents should be involved in the discussions. I am a parent of a daughter who attends the school. I get it. It doesn't just impact individual people. I am a taxpayer and have been for a very long time and have had my 2 older boys go through the school district. So I get it from all perspectives. So I want to have that conversation, and it's tricky. It's getting very difficult to try and dance between the compliance, because I will, honestly, I am a compliant person. I do comply. If somebody tells me what to do and they have authority, I respect authority. I've been taught to respect authority, and it's part of my nature. So I'm all in on compliance. I score very high on the personality test for compliance, which is good in my position. You want somebody that's going to be doing that, because gonna do it right. Most of the time, it's always great, which I did. But so what I'm saying is, we're gonna, for tonight, I think we have to get, I need to have some direction from the 6 of you on what to do next. So here's our choices, what I've been thinking about. We can take them out tomorrow, go through the audit, and let the chips fall where they may, and we will be, whatever the term is,
non-compliant.
Yeah, it's not non-compliant, it's not, it's, pending recognition. That's what it is. Pending recognition for in perpetuity, so we still get state funding. We just won't be fully recognized as a school, which I asked even the last ROE person, I said, what happened? I said, well,
No,
no.
we still got money from the
Unless
state.
it's a bigger issue, if it was a bigger issue, if it's safe, it's different, if it's safety, student safety. You know, that's different issue. But for different other issues, they're not gonna worry very much. We can just do that, or we can leave them in until after the visit and then take them out. That's up to you, that's on you, and then we have 4 years before the next visit, or.
Play the game.
Yeah, that's right out there for you.
Yeah, and I know
We
we're
can
going
leave
to a practical solution here. This is a non-action item, but I know we have to get the practical solution. There are two things I just wanted to go on real quickly. One, I think another advocacy group we have read.
Yep.
Right? That's
Also
another
opposed it.
advocacy group. So that's one. And then just to follow up on your statement of how we see the state government encroaching on local government. There's another element here, and I pointed it out already. Where the state government hasn't been able to encroach on local government and self-determination there is BIC takes up that space where the state government failed and they push it farther. And I think this is one of those cases, clearly in the bill, as they say, in each bathroom of every building. They incorporated it on their compliance visit checklist. And so
Yeah, I'm not
they're
arguing that.
taking it to the next level. I think that's something as a board, in a very short time left. I think that's something as a board, we have to be very, very cognizant of the fact that they're going to take whatever they would like as their agenda, where the state hasn't passed it, they're gonna push to further it in the expression of policy, and we've caught that several times here in the very, near past. And then also, they'll do it this way. Compliance visits, you have to do this and this and this, even if the state failed.
So, to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, and then rewind as it relates to the options that we
Mhm.
have, and everyone was like, oh, just leave them in until they do the compliance check and then take them out, to play the game. We do that, I feel like that's just giving them a green light to continue encroaching versus taking them out and possibly making accommodations. And instead of them being in every single bathroom, identifying areas that are designated as explicitly safe or at least clearly marked so that the kids know where they can go. That would make them feel the most comfortable, and that goes for both trans kids and,
Well,
yeah, exactly, that goes for everybody. Is there a way to do that?
We already do.
Okay,
so there's a neutral bathroom that anybody can use
Yeah.
if they're not feeling like.
So we can make sure that they're in those particular bathrooms. We were in the other buildings, not here yet, but those are girls and boys bathrooms, they use them. For example, the bathrooms right here by the cafeteria, they're single stall.
And that was required at one point.
Yeah, the girls, it started with the girls type of products, which
Yep.
makes total sense.
So that was required, absolutely, that was required. Clearly, didn't say this is not being a state.
So then to go off of what you said, do we then send an email to the parents? Because if we're gonna do it and say, you know what, this is what we're gonna do. Would going to the parents be, if the parents come back and say, put them back in.
I mean, I guess that's possible, but I don't know if it's gonna be a lot.
So, real quick question, Jason, when is the compliance visit?
It's something to think of.
No, first, that's for personnel. That's your part.
Compliance.
They start on February 2nd, but I think that particular part of it is the next Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, do we have time to get something out on our tool? A survey out on our tool, asking if parents are in favor of having,
And literally being like, you've got like a week.
or less, right?
People answer those really quick.
Yeah.
But we,
Pretty volatile.
but we won't know those answers until after.
Yeah.
We could learn those answers. We could
Let's
set
think about that.
results of those answers. I appreciate your consideration there. And my thoughts here is that if we crowdsource, right? We crowdsource, we get survey results and we get X percentage back. That can be communicated to ROE and ISB. We don't have much time, right, as a board, we have to call a special session. Voting, this is a non-action item. Yeah, so we'd have to do something if we were to vote as a board to remove them. Or is that simply an operational issue?
It's an application issue.
So in addition to getting results from the parents, if it would make sense for us to email you individually, so as not to violate the Open Meetings Act, and state our position on this, although it's not a vote and an official vote that determines the actions of the, to be taken as an official statement of the board, it would be indicative of the support to make a decision. And then if we could get that, and I know we're running up against the clock here, if we could get that information and decide that we want to take a vote on that, then we meet in a very brief time limit to just 10 minutes and done. I do appreciate what you're saying, and I think they need to hear from the people.
I agree. Like,
And supposedly we could say they heard from the people based on who was elected. But
Counter argument, what if it comes back 50-50?
Right.
comes back 50-50, then we're talking the board,
No way.
and the board is still 50-50.
This board is not 50-50, I can tell you that right now.
Tie goes to the same, okay, not the inside.
Yeah, you know,
The tie
really,
goes to the runner. the tie goes
bothers
to
me
people.
because we're acting as if we're acting as if we're voting on whether to comply or not. And I think that's wrong. That is not the case. We know what it says in Amendment 2.
That's what I have a question on. I have the page up that you're talking about. I have a feeling you probably have the same page up. Fix this part here.
It's that, and
What you have up.
And so here's the synopsis as introduced, right? And I don't have my glasses on, but here you can see at the end, the statement. So it was in bathrooms of every building.
Right.
So at least there were, bathrooms, but
So,
the key is each.
sure. And I was talking with Jason earlier today, when I read this last part, Sean, this bill does not create a state mandate. The heading above it, state mandates fiscal note. Is that saying bill does not create a state mandate specific to the fiscal note part? And that's,
And
we have that question out
Office
to
of
the
Economic
attorney.
Opportunity, which means it would impose costs.
I
that may
understand.
be-
So I had asked Jason if we could reach out to the attorney for them to simply state or tell us what that.
And it was, the answer was, it's normally where, they would say whether something is an unfunded mandate. However, when you look at the fiscal note above section, it says, this will not have a fiscal impact to the State Board of Education. So,
Question.
if we think of it this way, if we say this is not an unfunded mandate, that implies that there would be cost, right?
Right.
If they have to make a clarifying statement, this is not an unfunded mandate. It doesn't have that.
Right, I was just wondering if that last section about not being the state mandate was just to the funding part.
Yes. That's Jeff's interpretation.
Right, so, okay, so it's not an unfunded mandate. So in other words,
Agreed, but that would be.
so there would be no cost here, right? But we know there is cost,
Correct, which is my argument every time they pass a law,
right?
because it in,
Right,
so what they.
but
so-
it's not been classified as an unfunded mandate, correct?
I agree, this is my frustration.
So this is, to me, let's look at the language as to whether it requires these in each bathroom of every school building, and the fact is, Amendment 2 says it is not in each bathroom of every school building.
Correct.
Which means probably should go where it would make the most sense.
Could we
There you
have
go.
Jeff come to the special meeting? Could we have our lawyer present at the special meeting so we can get one-on-one clarification? I think that is necessary.
But, okay, so here's the thing, so I think what you would wanna do with, for any attorney is try to provide as many questions up front, because a lot of this, and Dr. Linda's been doing that, but even coming out of this conversation, listening to things, I'm writing down other
I
things
know.
that I would wanna bring back to an attorney that he may not know off the cuff, just because he may have to go back and
Can you write up a list and?
Jason submitted good questions to the attorney, and I will tell you, it comes down again to me, to only two items. Is it each bathroom, meaning all, in every school building? The answer is no. If it meant each bathroom in every school building, it would be inclusive of the boys' bathrooms. Amendment 2 said it is not, right? You're seeing that, right? Charlie?
I'm reading it again.
So look at the, in parentheses here, rather than in each bathroom of every school building. And there's some question about grades, it's very clear in Amendment 2, 4 through 12, very clear. So I don't know. I saw a newspaper article where they talked about 6 through 8, but again, it's very clear here. That's the one thing that really is clear. The rest is left up to trying to discern intent. And the meaning is this does not create a state mandate. Can it be read as plain language? There are some terms of art here that I'm missing.
I think if we can get clarity on all that stuff, that'll put us in pretty decent stead. And I think it's our job to disagree. We should have disagreements about things. We should have parents involved. We should get heated because we're passionate. And we want to make sure we're doing the best thing for kids and for parents, period.
Can I ask
So I
something?
think this stuff works if we can get with our lawyers and figure out what's up.
I have some number of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're done, okay. All right, so how many units are we talking about, that are in boys' restrooms?
in this building, it would just be one.
All right, and how about the middle school?
That I don't know. I can. I can test.
The question is
Oh, how many boys' bathrooms are there? at the
Yeah.
middle school?
One. It's installed into all boys bathroom. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, in the middle.
Into each boys bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but how many boys bathrooms?
So total,
Oh.
How many units total installed in? So we're talking a total of 5. Right? Between the two of you, 5?
I
There's one.
said 5.
You said 5 and in one here?
There's,
We started cutting.
So 10 total.
But which one is of those are?
no, Ben, I don't think 5 machines were installed here. That's the question.
I thought we put some down here because we didn't have them there before.
Correct.
But
Those
those
are
are,
gender
those
neutral,
are
those will
gender neutral,
I
yeah.
kind of.
Okay. And then we.
So men's bathroom, boys' bathroom.
3. Okay.
All right, so where does that have us? 8?
May I ask a question? Is there, how much product was left at the end of the first week?
Well, Wednesday's first day and Wednesday's.
The first day was empty. Let's see that go.
And the other question though is, how much was it filled? Which should have been very minimal. I don't think that it was fully.
You're right, I cannot verify how much is actually.
Regardless, I think we've established that people who really would need it would go in those bathrooms. Yeah. So,
You have access to it in the plethora of other, aside from the gender neutral bathrooms in and of themselves. Those things are available and I'm sorry, I'm so, I grew up dealing with this and if ever I was in a situation where I needed something, you know, they weren't installed in the bathroom, I went to the nurse. So like those, like they're available. If, so I just, I think that we need to go the route of speaking with parents and I know it's a time crunch, but I think that it's worth it.
Okay,
in this particular.
so let's go over plan of action. We're going to leave, are we going to leave them in until the check?
I think
You do not want to?
not without,
Okay,
not without like,
so Jason will have send them out, send out an email tonight asking the parents what to do. We give them a week.
I think that a week, two to 3 days tops, right?
What's the plan of
I
action?
already talked to them.
Look, I think the biggest, let's make sure that our actions are governed by the biggest concerns.
Yes.
those Concerns voiced by the parents. And then also the operational issues that have resulted, right? And then the compliance visit is a consideration, but I think our actions should be governed by the concerns. Those concerns sounds to me, and the first thing that struck me is that children born the gender identified in the bathroom sign only use those restrooms or gender neutral restrooms. I think that addresses the main concern, right? That can be done very quickly if we feel we have the need to put up a sign saying that. We don't, if we're confident that they're governed for now, okay? So that's one thing. That would require no action regarding the removal of those immediately. I think, two, absolutely must communicate this to the parents and get, and have a survey and get the pulse of the parents. You know, we can't reach the entire community, but anyone who's a taxpayer in this community should have an equal voice, because I believe there's great legal liability if in fact these the genders are not adhered to in the bathroom. But I think the quickest way is through our crowdsourcing tool to get the feedback from the parents in a survey. If we can limit that to like 2 or 3 days, I would think that. Would that, do you think, with a topic like this, that we'll get? I have.
No.
I'll wait.
Yeah, yes, can we backpedal just?
Yeah, yeah.
Because we're not, we don't react here.
Right.
Usually, we are, right, and I want to be slow and deliberate and make the best decision. If it's a good decision today, it's gonna be a good decision in July, so we have time to do this. We have time to consider this, because we could take them all out for now. It doesn't matter, right? Or you're saying that.
We again, that's, and I'm sorry to interrupt, Jason. I
Take
think
the compliance,
we.
I think the
because then we don't
compliance is
react.
holding us in.
I think the compliance visit is just a consideration. I don't think that's
I want to be clear.
and determinant, right? Like, so
Thank you.
it's the governing principles that,
Sure.
right?
So,
Those concerns of the parents, and I think shared by most board members here.
so if you take the compliance, because I think you're talking about a quick turnaround because we're pushing toward a compliance. If we, let's take the compliance timeline now.
Say we're not in compliance, because we wouldn't be in compliance on
regardless, yeah.
regardless anyway, so okay, take that out.
So if you take the compliance visit piece out and you want parent reaction, let me ask some questions to help me formulate what this would look like, this discussion. I've already talked to some parents about the sex ed standards. That's a whole other comment that I think parents need to be aware of so that they can clearly talk to their state representatives and send information, because that direct communication is the most powerful. But aside from that, this is a different issue. And then there's three issues, two issues at hand. One is the products and bathroom, the operational aspect of that, and then the legal implications of gender assignment and who can use what bathroom. So we can have informational night on that so that we're clear on what the law says. Ability to use bathrooms, and that's gonna be in our sexual harassment policy and all of that. So we'll have a little bit more time to research that. So should we? I'm trying to. If you survey the parents and 75% or 60% want the products removed from the bathrooms, is that what that's all you want?
I mean, and not necessarily that's what I want, but I think that it's incredibly important to have like that direct communication.
Yeah.
So that essentially we're not up here making the decision amongst ourselves, and we just feel like all these people want this, and like, this is where we're operating from. It's more, it's so that we have a broader picture of what the community wants from their district. I just personally feel, I get like the heebie-jeebies when I feel like we're making big decisions and the parents are like, you know, like.
Whatever. Oh,
have
I found
no idea what's
Yeah.
going
I
on.
found out about this 2 days ago.
So
Yeah.
they get an
Yeah.
email.
Can
Yeah.
I put another possibility out there maybe? What if, for the time being, just the time being, the devices stay inside the bathrooms until the, what is the ROE, what are they doing, their inspection? And instead of trying to force and get, information from the parents real fast, take our time a little bit, and if it comes back that parents and taxpayers are truly against having those machines in there, then we just take them out. So we've gone through, what the ROE wants to do. They'll see that they're there, and then, 2 weeks after that, we get our feedback from the parents, and the parents are saying, yeah, this is a lousy idea, and then we take them out. There's no rush.
Also, kind of want to like touch on some things that are like, I feel like it needs to be, like the scope needs to be narrowed to specifically the devices in the issue at hand, because like the whole like bathroom assignment and whatnot, who can go and where, that's separate law and
Yeah.
it's a separate
Mhm.
issue, and it
Yeah.
needs to be like,
Specific to the machine, right?
Okay, and, it's not, I don't think it's the greatest thing, because I really don't like the idea of them being in the boys' restroom. But, it would probably solve a little bit of the time issue and the time crunch. And it would give us a chance to get better data. In other words, the parents would be able to have a little bit more time to, reply to the feedback. What's the tool we use?
Thought exchange, but it sounds to me like, so here's a question, because the thought exchange is a valuable tool if you're looking for discussion, if you're looking for feedback. Is that what you're looking for? Or are you looking for a vote on a specific issue? Because this one's pretty clear, either you want or you don't.
I think more of a vote. Like
Yeah.
a survey,
Yeah,
Sure.
the survey,
So survey can just be a Google,
right?
I can use thought exchange, you're gonna survey.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on, do you want to open that up to a discussion? Because
I
I
mean,
think we have it
that could be a,
We're having an interesting discussion here tonight.
that could be a survey question.
I mean, if
But
they want
this
to
is
put
what pretty-
comments in, that,
I mean,
you
Yeah.
could get.
I like the common idea. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like I feel like community has the opportunity to speak here. So I think that like a simple survey should suffice. And if there's more that they feel they need to express, then that's something that they need to come and, be a part of the party.
Or if you want a community forum, that's a different opportunity for dialogue with people.
Yeah.
So we had planned this year for community forums, looking at dates and one each month on 3 different topics. Now, it might be this topic. That's okay. Because it's gonna lead into some other stuff.
Another factor that we have to add in. 1, 2, and 3, you have 4 meetings left.
Yeah.
So we have to get, I would assume you guys would want this done before you guys walk out the door.
What's that, March, or the first meeting of March?
I mean, if at all possible, sure. And then, but we don't know what the new board makeup is gonna be, and so we don't know what their opinions are gonna be. So, but our current constituency is, speaking loud and clear, if we've got 4 people here, there's probably what? 300, 400 that are probably feeling the same way, probably. Could be that big.
Plan of action then, gonna leave things as they are right now and maybe just tell parents they're hiring themselves, so. But, and then just explain, and then present with them with the survey. And then let them know, like, if we need further discussion.
Yeah, that and or comment, leave a comment area on the survey.
I think the final goal, I think, would be to get the machines removed. I believe that's the case, and I believe that's the feedback that we would get. So.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm fairly confident that if you're going by, well, that would be
Real quickly,
Yeah.
sorry, just to provide some more clarity on the in each bathroom versus in bathrooms. And I said, I believe there was House Bill 1201, it is House Bill 1201. That was just filed January 17th, so a week ago. And it amends the current school code. And this amendment now, or this change that's being introduced, is that it shall be made available in all bathrooms rather than in bathrooms. So as it is now, you might want to refer the attorney to this. I'm not an attorney, but I found it. It says that there's a bill introduced to make it apply to all bathrooms. So if that was the case, they wouldn't be introducing the bill.
Which bill is that?
1201.
So we know what we're doing, or we know our course of action at least,
I don't know, what it just came up with, it might be changed.
yeah.
HB 1201. But you have to be careful that it's in the right assembly. It's 103rd.
That was on the 17th, Sean.
Yes, January 17th, HB 1201, 103rd Assembly. Again, if we are non-compliant, this compliance visit is not to be compliant with state law. It's compliant with what is being.
Which
Okay,
virtually has no
it's a
effect.
checklist. We need to be very aware of that.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Communication and survey to the parents, right?
Immediately or after the inspection?
couple of days.
I think, yeah,
Mhm.
soon, before the inspection.
Before the inspection?
Yeah.
Okay, then are we having a special meeting?
I think it depends if the results of the survey is shared and feedback is shared, and we decide that we need to have a special meeting. Again, we're just using the visit as a guide or an endpoint or milestone that we need to meet, then I'd say we need a special meeting. If, however, you simply address the parents' concerns of many board members here, that we maintain genders, then we have some time to get feedback at the visit, provide feedback to the visit, and I'd be happy to be here. If we get the days and I'm available, I'd be happy to provide some feedback to them. Or I can just go direct to ISB. I'd be happy to do that as a board member. And because I have very short time remaining. I wanted to do more, but at least in reviewing the policy, maybe to point out that where the state has failed, ISB continues to push forward. So I think that's important to get some feedback from the community, share that with you. Obviously, they've heard that these are there. There's gonna be questions, especially from the boys. Why are they there? And if they're there, what does that mean? Is that an implied invitation? Is that, what does it mean? We're not little kids. We have to be able to put framework. I'd say we have to put a framework in place. We've done that. It existed. But I think it needs to be reiterated because this is a new factor.
So email it out,
Mhm.
depending on what
Share-
happens,
share
we have a
feedback.
special meeting.
Yeah,
Any
share
other
the
feedback?
feedback, we talk, see if we feel we need a special meeting. Again, that special meeting would be, again, the only driver for that. Whether we believe we need to take these out before that compliance business. Can we do it? Can we not do it? I respect the
So
idea
that would
that
be,
it sends a message, right? Or you send a message by sharing the survey results. But again, the main thing is just maintaining integrity of the bathrooms. That's all.
I think this is really important as it relates to. I know it's like a super volatile topic, but is that something that is supposed to be a focal point? No parents don't want to be left out of this discussion. So, okay, so plan of action is emailing survey, and then if we call a special meeting, what are we doing?
to remove them
Is that something that,
There's a
prior to inspection.
is that a votable thing? 'Cause I know you said that was like an operational thing, but we don't do that.
Well, I think it's in policy.
Well, either that or there's an expenditure, right? It's gonna cost money to remove them.
Well, the money was spent last year.
To remove them?
No, to buy the machines. They were bought last year, so I have to, so I can sleep somewhat well tonight. So when I heard about all this, of course, I'm like, oh, it's all about me. Oh my God, where did I go wrong? So I was talking to Jason and I called Dr. Jones today too. So I just want to give Sean a little bit of like my understanding stepping into this role. In a little bit, just to maybe, not in defense, but just my take. And I like to be completely transparent and with everything. And so last year when this came up, and I wasn't involved in all of the conversations, and certainly not the board meeting, but the takeaway from the business office and IASBO's understanding of this law is that it's a law. Like this is it, you have to do this. That's all. So the machines were purchased last year. The custodial staff was instructed last year to put them in. They did not do it for whatever reason. I don't know. So a couple weeks ago, as we were preparing for this, the ROE compliance audit and visit, the question came up, are these in? And I spoke to our wonderful, amazing director of buildings and grounds and said, hey, are these in? they need to be in it a lot, and he's Johnny on the spot, they were probably in within 10 milliseconds. I mean, he's good, this is not what we're accustomed to in the previous world last year in terms of things getting done on the buildings and ground side, so, that's just why things, I think, moved really quickly, so just wanted to put that out there.
I think for me, and I'll only speak for me. My impassioned opposition and what upsets me about this is not the school. I mean, you all do a great job. I was surprised that we didn't hear any more on it because I called it out loud and clear and pulled it up. But that's not it. It's the, Jason said, the encroachment of the state on the local, and now again, the encroachment of ISD on board's self-determination. That's where it comes from. And I just think there's so many things that can happen, and I named two, and I believe they happen. Pretty confident those things that I named. We know at least the one gone in a day. Because it's not, it doesn't take a lot to see that. But there are much bigger issues at hand. And I don't think that you do this to kids. Because you want to say that you supported your constituency. I just think kids shouldn't be applauded. So it's not, no need to feel defensive. It's not, at least from my perspective, that's not where it's at. I think he does do a tremendous job. It's, as I say, very, very fortunate to be a builder. Very fortunate. But this issue is, it's a hot button issue for me, and I think. For me, I won't comment. But, no, there's no judgment. No judgment.
Anyone want to talk Raptor?
About the audit, the financial.
I will look into the Raptor questions that were raised.
Mhm.
From what I understand, Raptor just checks the.
National Center data.
Checks under data.
That's it.
We don't advertise that out because when people come, it's safer if they think we're checking more things.
Yeah.
Right.
She had some good points about scaring some people away, though. We don't really want to scare parents away. But yeah,
It could be at its time. You know,
it is, you know,
Yeah, it's
other
hard.
people might not want to show up, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, you don't want to keep away the good guys, but you want to keep away the bad guys, but sometimes when that gets cast and you catch it all.
You have a responsibility, right?
Yep.
That's it. And that's one tool to
One,
help us realize and acknowledge those factors.
every school I've been to has some sort of system similar to that, so I assumed
Yeah.
it was a law, but.
it's
I've
not a
never-
law, but it's recommended by, part of the law and the board policy is that we meet with our local law enforcement every summer. And that's on our compliance schedule too.
Yeah.
In order to review our safety plan. And it wasn't 5 years ago that we approved that. It was every year we have to approve as a board, the safety plan.
Yeah.
And so, yes,
Present.
well, not explicitly called out all the details of it, it is part of the safety plan that is.
That is. And we are in compliance on that.
Cool.
It will remain so.
All right,
Or
we done? All right, future agenda items, board policy updates. Fees, so the extra fees we pay for sports and stuff next year, what are we gonna start them at next year? Investment opportunities. Because we have so much cash just lying around collecting dust.
Tons of it.
An MTSS presentation, so that's, multi-tiered systems of support for students. And then property tax relief grant. Woo-hoo, would be nice. Hopefully we'll get that. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
I have something on the board report.
We'll be again in 2 minutes. hopefully. Jason, superintendent's report.
Well, we're all about compliance. That's coming up, and I think we'll do okay, but like I said, there will be some items that we won't have ready by then. But that's been most on our mind for the moment. Our assistant principal at the middle school, who resigned, and her last day was last Friday, so we're trying to fill in there and keep things going, well, for somebody to replace her, looking for next year, somebody to replace. On a permanent basis, we think if we wait till March to send that invitation out, we'll get a great pool of candidates like we have. There's people that I've heard are interested, so I think we get good candidates for that.
Thank you. Probably what you got, folks.
Okay. A little bit longer of a report. Real quick. Okay, so under finance audit update, I actually met with our auditor today, to do our debrief meeting, which after the end of the audit, after the auditor does all of their work, they get together with other members of their team to review the audit, go through everything. Typically, when we have these debrief meetings, the auditors come back with a list of recommendations of things that we could do to improve our internal process. So the audit just isn't the financial review, it's also internal controls on the financial side that they're reviewing. And I have not seen this yet, but they did not have any, the audit went very smoothly, they said, and they have no management comments. So and last year, if you recall, they had very few management comments as well, so we implemented those, and so we're, according to them, doing, everything that we should be on the financial side, so that was really good news. As of right now, they're looking to come to the next board meeting, February 13th, to present their findings to the board. Working still with forecast 5 on the 5-year budget projection. I now understand what the data issues are. There's data cleanup that's needed. It's going to take a little bit of time. So that's something, after this month is, January is typically the month of, getting tax documentation out the door. But come February, I'll jump back into cleaning up the data with forecast 5 so that we can work on it. Good. Under nutrition, I applied for a food services equipment grant, asking for about $40,000 for a convection steamer and shelving units. So the steamer would be for the elementary school and shelving units for both of the chillers at both schools. So that I submitted last week, and I hope to hear back. It's a grant, again, that would give $40,000, but of course, it's going to go to schools with a higher number of free and reduced students. So there's still a shot we might get some of that. We were awarded the $50,000 facility maintenance grant. I'm meeting with Consolidated Flooring on Friday to come up with or to get estimates on the 3 different areas that we talked about putting the new flooring in, so that we can decide off of the costs of those 3 projects, which project will move forward with this summer. And then the F-250 truck for the middle school, I placed an order for that in November. I followed up on its status last week because I was told that there would be a status in January. And it sounds like, well, one, Ford closed off the Super Duty pricing last week. Next, what they do is they go through all of the orders that they got, and then they let the people who submitted orders know if their order has been accepted. So that is because there are material shortages. So it's possible that the order may not be accepted. I asked our source wall representative what that means, and he said basically, if that happens, what they'll do is they'll roll your order into the next round of trucks, which he thinks will be in May or June, and that would be a 2024 model. If that doesn't happen, which I don't know what will happen there, but, what we'll do, Tim Smith and I will go back and try to go back through this whole process again, looking for used trucks at car dealers, staying in contact with other school districts, possibly selling used trucks.
Right, that's not the salt truck, but we already,
Yeah. No, that's
That's the
like,
same.
that's a salt truck.
I thought we already got that.
Oh, we've
No,
been looking for one for 3 or 4 years now.
long years. So I got an order for one, which was something, and then now it's just, I guess, a waiting game.
We did get a new truck.
I thought we got it.
The carburetor.
Yeah, we already got one.
They both got rocked.
But that one we got a couple years ago. So
Okay.
this was the one that the board approved, the purchase of earlier this
Okay.
fall.
This is the one that's like saying.
Will there be a way to protect the cat on this new one? When we eventually get it?
We did look into different things that you
I
could
mean,
put,
serious.
well, that you could put under your, it's something that you put under the catalytic converter. But then, people say.
Yeah.
That they cut off first.
It is, right, it just takes a little bit longer.
But, I mean, we came up with a plan, so, of protecting the
Yeah,
trucks, so
okay.
that's been enacted and so far so good. Transportation bus drivers, so we're in need of a couple bus drivers, we're getting pretty low. And so we're down to one substitute, we typically like to have two, preferably three. So that's something that, we're looking to go into a closed session tonight and just go over a little bit more details. Do we do that now or at the end?
What do you want to go over? Close
Oh.
the-
Well, maybe I don't have to. I mean, it was just go through it now.
I would think, yeah.
Okay. So in the back of your packets, I put together, so I just wanted to share what we've been doing in the business office to try to brainstorm ways to get more bus drivers through the door. So as you probably have heard, there's a national shortage of school bus drivers. We currently have 17 bus drivers covering 16 routes. We're down to one substitute driver. When we have bus drivers, if we get to a point where we need more than one sub, what we do is double up our Wadsworth routes. But that means we really can only have two people out, or else we have to. Unfortunately, we have not gotten to the situation this year where we've been down three drivers at a time. So as I mentioned earlier, it's best to have two. It'd be great to have three sub drivers, and we currently use cabs for some of our out of district routes. And one thing to note is that our early childhood students that are placed at a school outside of our district, so like a special ed early childhood student, they cannot use cabs. So they have to use one of our buses and one of our bus drivers. Next page, what I did was I reached out to all of the Lake County School District HR contacts to get an understanding of what they pay. I was trying to see, are we comparable with what the other school districts are paying? Curious if they give bonuses, any type of bonuses to their drivers. So this page is just giving you that information. Our starting pay this year for bus drivers, $22.50. We'll go up to $25 with 5 years of experience, and then 36 school districts and like 21 outsourced. So the bulk of school districts that responded outsourced, 15 employed their drivers. You'll see there that their average salary is 30 or 22.35. And then I just provided the range and load because that's what my sixth grader is learning these days. Fun. No, but I was curious about the range, so we're right in the center. Looks like most school districts in that population of 15 pay around $23. Bonuses was one thing that I was kind of toggling. Would that be a way to attract more people, like a sign-on bonus? Or a retention bonus? So one of the questions that I asked the Lake County HR personnel was, what bonuses do you offer? So only two offered sign-on bonuses, which I was kind of surprised about. So 500 after 60 days and $1,000. 6 districts offered retention bonuses, that information's there. A couple school districts offered attendance bonuses and some offered referral bonuses, which would be beneficial too. The next page goes over benefits. Again, I was trying to compare what benefits are provided by other school districts, because one of the things that we have here is, our bus drivers, for insurance benefits, their benefits are partially covered by the district. If they wanted to have employee only fully paid by the district, they would have to pick up extra guaranteed routes or recess duties. So that's sometimes a deterrent for people if they need health insurance to take a bus driver job. The comparison of other Lake County school districts, 5 districts offer full employee only coverage. It's pretty big. 9 districts partially covered, however, one of them was at 90%, so to me, that's pretty much full coverage. One district provides money towards insurance. They didn't say how much it was though. And then I also went out to Indeed.com. You can get a lot of information out there in terms of compensation data. I wanted to see what the transportation companies like Durham are offering. And as you'll see there, it's a pretty high salary. And they have extremely high sign-on bonuses. But those are large national companies. They're able to do that. One other thing I found on Indeed is the average school bus driver salary in Gurnee was $23.79, but I'm pretty sure that's baking in school districts and transportation companies. And then the very end here, recruitment strategies, word of mouth. It seems like when we get candidates in, they are from our current bus drivers reaching out to their peers at the school districts they used to work with. I called the Lindenhurst Village, can we put signs in the ditch on 45 and, start school? No, the answer is no. We would be out of compliance and we would be fined. Not okay with that. Job postings, and we have the job posting posted in the principal's weekly communications to the parents. And things that I've learned at, so in addition to IASBO, I ASPA, and it's the Illinois Association of School Personnel Administration, I think. And I've learned what other school districts have done there is put ads on the back of grocery store receipts, ads at the movie theaters, billboards. We don't have billboards here. I really don't think we're going to get a lot of people with ads on receipts and movie. I don't even know how much that costs, but it's not in the budget. Don't even have to look at it. So where I'm going here is I want to put out that we're getting to what I would say a grave point of not having enough drivers. If we have one more early childhood student that needs to be bused out of district, we will, the only solution we'll have is to double up the Wadsworth route, which is fine. But then if someone else is out sick, one of our drivers, we're really down to the end here. So the point of this is to say now that I am thinking about other ways to retract and retain our bus drivers. And it may come at an expense at some time in the near future, possibly with sign-on bonuses or retention bonuses, is what I'm thinking. Any questions?
What's your plan if we run out of stuff?
To be honest, there are days where it's like, I feel like we run on luck sometimes, which is not great and no one wants to hear that. So our plan is we get very creative with, again, we've been doubling up the routes. We have been, we could work with parents if they have a child that is driven out of the school district with a cab, if the parent would be willing to do it, or I should say with a bus. Because we do have some students that are driven to special education schools on buses. We could ask the parents to drive and we would pay them mileage. That's another option, but we really need to get another driver or two through the doors. We've had several candidates this year, and two just were not okay with our starting pay. One, the spouse said that he could not be a bus driver because he lived too far away, and it's the split shift. A lot of people don't like the split shift. If you think about it, it's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. And this person would have to drive back and forth a very far distance. Another person, after we interviewed, they decided they didn't want to give up their seniority, because the other downside of starting as a bus driver here is you start at the bottom in terms of seniority, and you are automatically a sub driver. And so some people are not big on that, of the thought of having a different route every day. So it's really recruiting. I've asked the library if I can post things on their board and at the Lakeville Library, the answer is no. So I just, as things keep popping into my head, I'll just keep trying those things too. I might go see if that retirement community down the road has, honestly, as a clubhouse, and post something there. Maybe I'll go door to door.
Churches,
District.
you
Yeah.
put in church programs,
Sure.
you know?
Yep. Because really, ideally, what this job is great for is someone, it's great for anyone who wants to drive a bus. But often we see retired folks come through, and it just fits because they have that.
Yeah, we're answering. Right here, let's take your hat.
You can sing the wheels on the bus go round and round every day. So, but this was just to let you know the state of the state right now.
At 22.50 an hour, if it's, even if you're getting, what was it, 30 hours a week?
Yes.
Um,
Well, no, it's 20 hours a week. Yeah.
State unemployment is paying more than that.
Right.
I mean,
But- Right, but if we raise that starting rate, then we'll have to be looking at having to.
I mean,
Oh, no, I understand, but.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
it's just that, and,
Is there any of that?
now when it comes to tire
All
folks,
that answer there.
right,
Right.
if, and I don't know, are the benefits optional or how is that?
Right.
Because, I mean, retired folks are gonna be on Medicare.
Right, so benefits really are not, they're definitely optional. And so it's where the benefits would be. Where I was surprised to see so many school districts in the county offered fully covered benefits. That's huge. What that means is if someone, and we may have someone here that would be interested, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Way past my bedtime. Driving a bus, but, she cannot do it because she would not have enough hours to get her benefits fully covered. So you have to work 30 hours for Millburn to have your benefits fully covered.
Yeah, well, I guess the point is, I guess where I'm trying to get. Is there a way to, for people that don't need the benefits? Or Medicare, covered, you know, maybe still by their company, policies, what have you. If they're not taking the benefits, then, there's no cost to that, and that cost be rolled into their hourly pay.
It could, I mean, that would help. Oh, you're saying, so then you would increase the pay for new people coming in. Yeah, we could, maybe, I mean, we could look at something like that.
If they were, if they don't need the benefit,
I give them
you know, if they can hold back,
Yeah.
I'm on Medicare.
You want to drive a bus?
No.
You want him to
We have parents here who are truly concerned about their kids. Do you want me driving a bus?
No, that's a good solution. So, and I
it
am
was
all
just a
for, yeah, brainstorming. If anyone has ideas, send them my
Do we
way.
train or they have to come in?
We
having-
trade and we pay for that. So there's no expense for someone who does not have their CDL. We cover all of the training.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that is it.
All right,
Board report.
oh, me. I have two things to report. I went to the MLK breakfast. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. You guys missed out. It was an interesting setup. The food was good. The speaker was very nice. The presentation was wonderful. So you guys missed out. I think it was a fun little event. And then, the next night I came back, next night I came back and, went to a choir concert at the middle school of both the elementary and the middle school choirs, and it was a lovely little concert. Two events that's going on here in Millburn that was very nice. It was a great concert.
Any other board reports? Yes,
I'd just say, if you haven't done a mystery reader, I just sign up to do mystery.
What's a mystery?
It's when you, surprise the kids.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
all right. If that's all, I make a motion to adjourn to close meeting for the purpose of number 2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Ball, Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Bouvier,
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Federici,
Yes.
Ms. Roberts. Yes. Board entered into closed session.
So, we're closed, but when we come back, we're just basically gonna close it, so you don't have to wait and come back later if you don't want to. You won't miss anything.
We need a 5-minute break.
So let's take a break.
Thanks for coming, you guys.